don't mind, I want to film this because this is too darn cool.
Well, I'm not dressed for video.
Neither am I. So tell me about what you did.
Well, I served 4 years in the Air Force.
Oh, what did you do?
I was in the 1369th Photographic Squadron in California, Vandenberg. You know Vandenberg, right?
Yeah, by San Luis Obispo.
In what?
By San Luis Obispo.
Yes.
And
south of San Luis and north of Santa Barbara.
Yeah.
About the same distance.
It's where they do all the a lot of the military space stuff.
I'm getting a phone call. That's going it.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, hold on. Hello? I'm going to, and I got something kind of fascinating happen. A guy is here from California, and he's traveling across the country on a unicycle. And I'm saying, he stopped in here at CNC, and they called me and told me to come over to the store. But anyway, he's got a little bit of white hair, but he's not at my age though. He's young.
I'm 64.
He's 64. Well, anyway, we're having a conversation. I guess this is the end of my working on the house today.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So, hour and a half, 2 hours. Okay. Well, he may still be here by the end. I don't even know. You got a place to stay tonight?
I'm going to Paintsville.
Paintsville. You already got it arranged?
Yeah, and I'm just going to ride this crazy ass thing.
Okay. How fast would it go?
It goes 60 miles an hour.
Bye-bye. How much?
60 miles an hour. I'd never
50?
go. 60. I'd never go that fast.
60 miles an hour?
Yeah.
Whoa, man.
Do you want to see what it does?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen one of these?
No, I've never seen it. I tried to ride a unicycle.
Oh, I couldn't do
unicycle.
I couldn't ride a regular one.
That's the only thing that I ever had trouble actually doing.
Oh, I couldn't do that. So this thing, you just kind of get on it like this.
Yeah. Wow. Let me get a picture of this. Oh, hold on a minute. Okay. We'll do some more later. Yeah.
Okay, so keep telling your story. So
Well,
you were at Vandenberg
I was
in the photographic.
I joined the Air Force because they promised me if they'd show me the world.
Yeah.
And that was the big billboard on the road where I lived, down the road just a little bit. And I believed them. And then they sent me to an isolated missile base for 4 years. And we're 30 or 40 miles from anything.
What missile did you guys do? You have Titans or
What now?
which missiles were they? Were they the Titan missile or were they?
That was the beginning of this thing. They experimented with everything, and the engines that sent the man to the moon, they put on there's a mountain between us and the ocean.
Yeah.
And of course the military owned that mountain. Well, they put a launching pad on the backside of that mountain, but they didn't launch them. They stabilized them and then fired them.
Yeah. So I used to work for Northrop down in L.A.
Well, that's how we learned how to build something that would be powerful enough to do that.
Well, I remember one time I was in my house or my apartment, and it just started shaking.
Well, anyway, every time they launched, it wasn't real noisy because that mountain.
Oh yeah.
And the name of the mountain was Tranquillian Peak. That's the name of the mountain, and that is today. Well, anyway, I did that for 4 years, and while I was doing that, I was planning a trip on a bicycle. And when I got discharged, I bought a $99 Greyhound bus ticket for 99 days. And I would go from town to town. I'd sleep on the bus at night on a long haul. And then I would end up in a large city that had a library. And then I would go find out about that city. And I basically did what I was going to do on a bicycle, but I did it on a Greyhound bus. And then when I got into Canada, they honored the Greyhound buses a ticket, and Trailways, when there was not a Greyhound,
Yeah.
Trailways honored it also
Yeah.
in this country.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah, and
So-
then, but anyway, I did that and went back. I had my bicycle and everything I needed in storage at Vandenberg, and 99 days later, I'm back at Vandenberg and got on the bicycle, and 14 months later, I had traveled 14,000 miles, and I started in just north of Los Angeles, where the base is. I
Yeah.
started there. Went north in the springtime and summer, and then across to Alberta, and then zigzag down through the Rocky Mountains across the Continental Divide 13 times that summer. Got into Mexico and then back out in Texas, and then I go across the south during the wintertime, then go down deep into Florida and back up to the Carolinas. And
I've never heard of someone doing that big an adventure.
And then when the spring came on, I was traveling in the Northeast, and I ended it in Washington, D.C. in my U.S. representative's office.
Well, you know, I'm going from San Francisco to Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
And isn't that funny that we'd end up running into each other
Yeah.
in this little
Yeah.
town?
In
So-
this little town that's out in the middle of nowhere. There's no major route through here.
No!
You're on country roads if you find this town.
Well, that's why I picked this
Yeah.
this route.
And I've done a lot of stuff.
Didn't you do something on stilts, I hear?
Oh yeah.
Tell me what you did on stilts.
Well, I did the bicycle. Well, I back up a bit because the stilts was in between. So in 1980, my little girl, she had a buddy that she was 6 years old, and that buddy was 5, and he started stumbling and falling and was having trouble getting up, and this was really bothering his mom and dad.
Oh,
You
yeah.
can imagine. They took him to Vanderbilt in Tennessee, did a biopsy of the upper muscle, and he had Duchenne.
Oh.
And of the 42 neuromuscular diseases, Duchenne is the one that kills.
No.
And he died at 15. Some people with Duchenne will, get into the middle 20s, but almost everybody dies before they make it to 30. But anyway, I was at the JC's, that's the Junior Training Corporation.
Oh, yeah.
And they did fundraising for muscular dystrophy. So I presented them, they should let me walk across the United States and raise money. So they sponsored me, but I had to prove to them that it would work. So I walked 150 miles across Kentucky and raised $7,000 in 10 days.
Holy moly!
So they said, okay, let's do it. And by the time I got, the USJCs didn't want to sponsor me because they was afraid I'd get hurt and be bad
Oh,
press
yeah.
and all that stuff. And Tosca Motorhome gave me a brand new motorhome, and 2 fellow JCs in their early 20s. One of them drove me from Los Angeles to Dallas, and the other one flew down to Dallas and drove me on up to finish the trip. It's 3,008 miles. Raised $104,000, and Jerry Lewis sent me a plane ticket and flew me to Vegas, and I gave it to him on the opening of the 1980 telephone.
That's it. So you, on stilts, went across the entire United States.
Yep, 3,008 miles.
I'll tell you,
And-
people think I'm nuts. I have a motor doing this. I have a motor. You're the most amazing person I've ever met.
I don't know about that.
Isn't that just incredible? The chance of meeting you.
Anyway, and that's not the end of the story.
Oh, keep going.
So, the state of Kentucky, the state of Kentucky had a different logo for the Department of Agriculture, the Department of Parks, the Department of Economic Development, the Department of this and the Department of that. They had 8 or 10 logos.
Yeah.
Well, there was a very successful businessman. The governor talked him into coming and being the Secretary of Commerce. And the very first thing he did, they're not going to let me.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just going to keep charging my unicycle as we talk.
Hey, John Owen. good. How about yourself? You want them? Well, I definitely want to hear it. Good or bad? Okay. Well, there is a guy that rode into Hazel Green, Kentucky on a unicycle. And he's coming from San Francisco
Yes, sir.
on his way to Washington, D.C. And I'm standing here talking to him. He came through Hazel Green. Yeah. Yeah. Well, anyway, I definitely want to sit down with you, and I want to find out what's going on. Okay.
Howdy.
Yes. I will take your time, buddy. I'll call you
Good.
back.
How are you doing?
Doing good. I'll eat supper and talk to this guy for an hour, and then I'll call you back. All right, bye. Okay. Sorry I had to do that.
Oh God, no.
That was my minister.
Oh, you got to talk to minister. Is that
Yeah.
your house right there?
Huh?
Is that your house right there?
Yeah.
That's a beautiful house.
That's an incredible story too.
Well, I'll hear that also.
That's the latest thing that I've done, and I'm 82 years old.
That's just gorgeous. Well, tell me. So you came back. You finished your trip on the stilts.
So now the state of Kentucky, this guy
Had the logos and everything.
Yeah, the logos. So he's a businessman.
Yep.
A very successful businessman. In fact, I looked him up last week, and he's worth about $80 million.
Holy moly.
And he's retired. So anyway, he was Secretary of Commerce. And he said, we need one brand for Kentucky, one logo. And anyway, so he started a program, and it evolved into the Kentucky Unbridled Spirit.
Oh wow.
And an artist did a logo, and it's a horse. It's just the horse from the shoulders up, with his head out. He's running. His mane is blowing in the wind, and it says Kentucky Unbridled Spirit.
Oh wow.
And that took care of everything, every department in Kentucky. And I knew he had done that, and I also in my mind, I never met the guy, but in my mind I knew what kind of person he was, and he was kind of like myself. He had done some pretty cool stuff in the business world,
Yeah.
risky, and it paid off huge for him. Well, anyway, it took me 6 months to get a meeting with him, and he finally agreed to meet with me, and I took 2 people from the tourism department of these 2 counties, and I took 2 people with me. And I said, I want you to go with me because there's something good's going to happen today, and I want you to witness it. And I really didn't know for sure, but I did.
You got a winning attitude.
Anyway, I went to his office, and I took a box full of back up my story.
Yeah.
I've done this stuff.
Oh yeah.
And I backed it up. And I said, you need somebody to be the first Unbridled Spirit.
That's what you are.
And he's, after a 2-hour meeting, he said, Joe Bowen, and he got up off of his desk, out away from the conference table, and went to his desk and got his own checkbook. He said, I'm going to give you $1,000 because I want to be involved in this personally. And he said, the state of Kentucky is going to make you the first Unbridled Spirit, and you're going to ride that 14,000 miles a second time in your 60s, and I'm going to give you $60,000 to pay for it, because that's what you said it would take.
Holy moly.
And you did.
And you did it. How old were you at that time?
In my 60s.
I'll tell you, you make me look like a wimp. I'm embarrassed. I don't want anyone to see this video.
Well, anyway, and then I was raised poor, and I also have a very much of an interest in people that maybe didn't get the credit that they deserve.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah.
So, in this state, we've only had 2 governors in 200 years of history. We've only had 2 governors from Eastern Kentucky. We've actually had 3, but one of them actually did more work for Central and in Western Kentucky. They had already married themselves to
the west.
In order to get elected.
Yeah.
So, but we had 2 of them that did a lot of good stuff for Eastern Kentucky. And one of them I had met a couple of times, and he served as governor when I was a young person and living in this community. Well, anyway, I thought he should be recognized because he's already passed away.
Oh, yeah.
And I raised the money for my county and built a $100,000 life-size statue, bronze, 6 feet tall.
Oh, wow.
Burke Combs.
Isn't that neat?
And then his 2 other hometowns in Eastern Kentucky wanted a copy of it.
Oh, wow.
So I let them use I paid $40,000 for the artwork.
Yeah.
And I let them use the artwork for free. And then I showed them how to raise the additional $50,000 or $60,000 so that they could have. So now there are 3 life-size statues of Burke Combs in 3 different counties in Eastern Kentucky.
Now, what did you do for a living?
Huh?
What did you do for a living?
I ran a construction firm.
Oh, fabulous.
I built highways and sewage treatment plants and water plants, and laid a lot of water lines and natural gas lines.
Tell me about your house. It's the best looking house I've seen.
Well, this little town.
Do you mind kind of stand so I can get a picture of you
let's
in front of
walk
your
over.
house?
I think your stuff will be okay unless you.
Oh, yeah. Is that your phone, sir? I just don't want you to lose it.
Yeah, let's walk over.
Yeah, I just want to see. It's the prettiest prettiest house I've seen.
That house was built in 1883.
Okay.
And we found that it cost. 2 different newspaper articles talks about it, and one of them said it cost $3,000, and one said it cost $5,000. And my wife and I we've done. Now it sat empty for 26 years. It was about to fall down when we bought it 3.5 years ago. And the community, there was people here that said you ought to bulldoze it. I said we can't. It's got too much history.
Oh, yeah.
And the man that built that house started 1 block from here. He started what is called the Hazel Green Academy in the 1800s also, 1880. And the Hazel Green Academy was the first school in these mountains to offer a child a 12th grade education that would prepare them to go to college.
Isn't that great?
And anyway, so the house has a huge history, just incredible.
It's just so pretty. I love your woodpecker out here. That's really neat. And I like your, the thing I noticed was, did you make that chair, sir?
The what now?
That chair, did you make that?
No, a guy called me one day, and we were in Lexington, and he said, I got a gift for you, and I put it on your front porch.
Isn't that just gorgeous?
Yeah.
So, you've done such a good job.
Well, we bought those 2 lots, and they had old buildings on them. They were a mess. We're trying to buy this building right here. And the state of Kentucky and Appalachian Regional Commission paid almost $1 million to do an economic impact study. And in that impact study, they said, they recommended what it was for a resort about 20 miles from here. And in that study, they said, however, we encourage you to develop a theme town. So, and in the study, they give you the data, statistics on 4 different theme towns in the United States. 2 of them in Washington State, 1 in Solvang.
Was one Leavenworth?
One of them was Leavenworth.
One is Solvang?
Yes.
And
Helen, Georgia.
okay, hey, I did pretty good getting 2 of those.
You're incredible, buddy. So anyway, so I had visited those towns. I bicycled through those towns. I know what they were. I bicycled through Leavenworth when there was only 3 buildings that was almost finished.
Yeah, it's got a German theme to it, same like Solvang.
Bavarian.
Yeah.
I was there last winter at Christmas time, my wife and I.
Oh, how cool.
I was like, we'll eat up with it. So anyway, we decided that Hazel Green should be a theme town. And it represents, or it's part of, the Red River Gorge and Natural Bridge State Park. Now, the Red River Gorge is National Forest Service.
Yeah.
And we have over 100 natural arches.
Oh, wow.
Sandstone, some of them are actually limestone. But anyway, we're the 2nd largest collection of natural arches, and Moab is has got the most.
Guess where I came through on this trip?
I rode bicycles through Moab twice.
Me too. I mean, not bicycle, I'm on my dumb unicycle.
Yeah.
You were actually working.
Yeah. Anyway, and I stayed and actually worked for about 3 weeks in Moab.
That used to be a uranium town.
Yeah.
And, it's now just a giant Superfund site, and then all these people mountain biking.
Yeah. And there's a place there, if you may have heard of it, that there's a place called Schaefer Trail.
Oh, yeah.
And right now, it's listed as the 3rd most popular mountain bike trail on planet Earth. It's okay.
So I mountain bike all around.
Well, you're talking to the first guy that ever went down the Schaefer Trail on a bicycle in 1967.
Holy moly!
And there is an arch there called Musselman Arch.
Yeah. Oh, I've been there.
I rode a bicycle across Musselman Arch, and it's only about 8 feet wide. It's the narrowest place.
What's the chance of you and I running into each other?
I don't know. Well, that's the way it's supposed to be, man. We don't know it, but we're communicating in a different level.
I was going through Kansas. This sounds.
And I believe that.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. So I was going through Kansas, and on this silly unicycle, and I'm out of charge, and there's a little place like this, but the sign doesn't say open, but there's light on there. So I need charge, and I need to get. And there's a little cafe across the way, and so walked in. And there was a lady doing books, and she said, "Oh, I'll just turn on the lights. What do you need?" And I said, "Well, I do this, and do you mind if I pay you money so I could charge?" And she said, "Sure, go ahead." And then I'm talking to her, and she goes, and I give her my card, and she goes, "Oh, this makes sense." And I go, "What do you mean?" She goes, "You're a moppin'." And I go, "What do you mean?" And she goes, "Oh, I won't make you stare in the sun, sir." Okay. And I go, "What do you mean?"
She's a moppin'.
And I go, like, "What do you?" "Oh, there's Tom Moppin has a ranch just in the next town. You and him even sound alike." I go, "Look, no way." And so I go over to this cafe across the way, and I'm just kind of looking around. The town only has this general store and a cafe on the other side. So I'm wandering around in there, and she says, then she comes running in with her phone, and she goes, "I got Tom Moppin on the phone." And I go like, "Oh." So I talk to me. He's a good old boy. He goes like, "Yeah, I'm out here putting away hay. I'm raking hay, and I don't have time to really do this, but my mom told me if a moppin ever came into town, I should talk to him, because my parents are from Kansas, and my grandparents are from Kansas, and so said, just make sure you talk to him." So I ended up, talking to him on the phone. He said, "I only have just a couple minutes." 15 minutes later, he says, "Why don't you just come by the ranch just for 5 minutes? 5 minutes, and we can just talk, and then I got to do my work." And
wow.
3 hours later, he took me and showed me I got in his gator. You know what a gator is? Those John Deere gators?
Yeah.
We went all over his.
Wow.
We went to his house. We went to a farm. It's just so fun. I met his kids. And it turns out we really are related.
Wow.
What's the chance of that? So this doesn't surprise me.
Well, I was going through Creston, Washington, my second trip.
Uh-huh.
And I had stayed with a farm family, a ranch family, when I was there in '67. And I was looking for them, but they had moved on. And the lady at the restaurant, she said, but there's a guy here you should meet that lives here in town. And I said, well, who is it? And she said, Deb Copenhaver. I said, well, I don't know who that is. She said, well, he lives about 3 houses down from the restaurant. Just go down there and talk to him. Tell him we sent you. I went down there. His wife came out, and he wasn't there, but he pulled up while I was in the yard. And Deb Copenhaver was the world champion bronc rider in 1955, 56, and 57.
Oh, wow.
I stayed all night with her.
Isn't that fun?
And then 2 years later, I go to his reunion in Marion, Virginia with his family.
Isn't that cool? Well, you have a magnetic personality, and no wonder people like to be around you.
I had 2 old men come in this yard last week. Now, let me back up.
Were they on unicycles?
No.
I just didn't know. I didn't know.
No,
This may
okay.
be an attractive
So anyway,
place for unicycles.
This is a project that my wife and I have. There's a lot of people here that don't have a whole lot, okay?
Right.
They struggle because the coal industry is gone.
Right.
And they don't want to leave Eastern Kentucky because that's where they lived all their life.
Yeah.
So, and it's hard to find a job here. You better step over this way.
Oh, sorry, sir.
So anyway, we know that. And we've got a little bit of extra money. So we've taken several children in the last 3 years. We've taken several of the local children on 3 and 4 day vacations in other states. Some of these kids have never been out of the state of Kentucky. And in July, we're taking a little 10-year-old boy to Florida. And it'll be his first plane ride.
So I got a deal for you.
What?
How would you like it? Like my wife and I have a little extra money. What would you think of flying kids out to California and visiting us?
If you wanted to help me.
I'd pay for it.
Yeah.
I'd pay for you and the kids.
Yeah.
That'd be so fun.
But I'll find a kid that I haven't done, haven't taken them. We took 2 kids over to, we took them to Abraham Lincoln's home.
Yeah.
In Illinois, and then we drove them over to St. Louis. And I told them, I said, now there's something in St. Louis that you're going to get to do that's going to blow your mind. They said, oh, okay. So I teased them for 2 days. We get to St. Louis, and we park, and I walk them down to the river. And a big, beautiful helicopter sitting on a boat, okay? I said, boys, that's your transportation for a little while.
Holy moly!
And I flew those 2 boys one at a time, took them a tour of St. Louis and the Mississippi River and the...
They'll remember that you've made their whole lives.
Yeah, and guess what? It's kind of like, well, if he can do that, I can get me a good job somewhere. I can do that too.
You know, what's been interesting is so you hear a lot about urban poor, but you don't hear a lot about rural poor.
Well, rural poor is poor.
And I've been going through, like Kansas. You go through Kansas and you just see people just living horrible lives in these little towns. And
they're just barely making it.
And I can understand why, so I'm a Democrat generally.
You're what?
A Democrat.
You are what?
Oh, sorry.
That's good.
Oh, so
I was afraid to say it.
Oh, sorry.
No, I wasn't afraid to say it. I don't like to argue.
But the thing is like I was wondering what happened in this last election, and what I realized is the Democrats aren't talking about opportunities for people in rural areas, and if in rural areas, like all the retail's gone.
They need all the help they can get, buddy.
And they're just as needy as people in the inner city.
Yep.
And we need to make sure, and there are people who know how to work.
Well, let me tell you something. I wish I was younger, but I'm not. I'm 82. And last Friday, my wife and I met with the chairman of the tourism committee in the Kentucky House of Representatives. Spent 2 or 3 hours with her. And I'm on the sanitation board in this little town. We have $3.5 million for a sewage treatment plant, and we're trying to find the money to pay for the land so we can start building it. But this town doesn't have sewage treatment. But if we make this, okay, let me back up. I haven't told you this. We want to do a theme town.
Yep.
So we come in here and we start helping people, and we don't charge. and they start helping us. And it's incredible. It is absolutely incredible how the people have responded to us. It's like
Oh yeah.
they had given up. It's kind of like they kind of.
Well, you got to have hope.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so now they are believing in me, and right down there is the Red River,
Yeah.
and right down there is the Red River Gorge, about 10 miles from here. And the Red River Gorge is an unbelievable piece of geography that is just spellbinding. It is a canyon. It's a small Grand Canyon,
Oh,
but
wow.
it's got trees, and you can't see the ostriches is like in Moab, but you can't see them because of the trees. You have to go and find them, baby.
Well, you
And
know what that reminds me of? It's like my wife and I went to Australia, and they
we've
had
been to Australia.
the Blue Mountains.
Yeah, I've been in the Blue Mountains.
Don't they look like they look like the Grand
familiar,
Canyon? But around here, this
Yeah.
reminds me of the Blue Mountains.
Well, now that you brought that up, my name is Joe Bowen.
My name's Steve Maupin.
Steve Bowen.
How do you spell your last name, sir?
Bowen.
Okay.
Okay, now, I was born and raised in Bowen, Kentucky. Well, I've become friends with people in Bowen, North Queensland, Australia.
Oh wow!
And 2 years ago, my wife went down there and spent 3 weeks with them.
Isn't that great?
And but anyway, and then I found an island off of Vancouver Island, and it is Bowen Island, and it's 7 miles long, 3 miles wide, and 3,000 feet off the water.
Holy moly!
And I took my new wife there to see Bowen Island. But anyway, so we take these kids. Well, anyway,
Oh, sorry.
get over here.
You're gonna get mushed.
So anyway, we're going to do a theme town.
Uh-huh.
So what is the theme? What would it be? So we start talking to the local people, and one of the local people come up with what we're going to do.
What's the theme?
We are the only Celtic village in the United States.
I love it. And the green? Look at the green on the house.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you about the house. It's hazel
Yeah?
green on the Red River.
You gotta like that.
That's why it's painted that color.
I just love it.
Anyway, we are the Celtic village, and tomorrow we've talked to a law firm in Somerset, which is about a 2-hour drive from here, and they're doing a pro bono. They are going to help us figure out how to trademark something related to Celtic village. Now, let me tell you why we do Celtic village. You better get over this.
Sorry.
Eastern Kentucky. Now, you know the Celtic world is 3,000 years old.
Yeah.
They were one of the first tribes to actually accept Christianity.
Okay.
And on March the 17th, we celebrate, and I'm having trouble thinking, what's the guy, the Irishman?
Oh.
Well, anyway, I can't.
Robert Bruce?
No.
No, that's Scottish.
He's Celtic, but he was a Catholic priest that figured out a way to talk the Celtics into accepting Christianity a long time ago, okay? Well, anyway, these mountains, 75% of the people that live in these mountains, they are family from the Celtic world, 80% of them.
Isn't that cool?
80% of them. Now let me tell you another one that's kind of cool. We've had 47 presidents. 23 of them have fathers or grandfathers and grandmothers, or great-grandfathers and grandmothers, or great-great-great-grandfathers and grandmothers from Ireland. Over half of our presidents
Isn't that cool?
are Celtic.
I just love that.
And right now, there's 132 Celtic celebrations in the United States, but we're the only community that claims to be a Celtic village.
So, can I get your contact information? Because I'd like to figure out how I could help you too.
Well, we'd love for you to come here and visit 2 or 3 times a year. And
Oh.
there's a place for you to live right there.
But I want to see how I could help you financially in doing what you're doing.
We would love for you to help us, buddy.
Hey, so I'm going to turn this off, and then let's.
You want to
figure-
take a walk through the house? See,
Yeah.
It isn't finished. Let me help you get your stuff over here.
Oh, I'll just. Oh, I got it.
Are you